Good morning. I pray all is well with you. On yesterday, I posted a video and I discovered that there was some typos from my page to my communication. And so I decided to pull that one down and repost. The video that I posted yesterday was in regards to a new series that I'm going to start. And the series is entitled The Horses Are Coming, or The Horsemen Are Coming. It's going to be a video. It's going to be several videos in this series, and I'm going to take the time to roll out a summary of some of the subject matter that video will, or those videos will contain. And so this is a very critical juncture in our time and in our lives, for us as a people, for us as a country, a nation, and globally. And so this new series that I'm going to present is going to be something that is going to affect the whole world. And if you've never taken note of any of my videos before, this series of videos is something that you really need to grab hold of. No matter what you think, I promise you there's merit to it. And these things are going to happen. They are happening as I speak. So this is called The Horsemen, or The Horses Are Coming, the series. And this series was taken out of Jeremiah 12:5. And so again, I'm just preferencing what I'm going to actually be teaching or preaching about in videos to come. So I will unpack all those then. Now I'm going to just give you a summary of it, but the unpacking of it is going to come. So this is taken out of Jeremiah 12:5. And it basically is God responding to a disposition and attitude that Jeremiah had as it relates to his world, his purview, if you will, the things that was going on around him. And Jeremiah, simply put, was fed up, and he was in complaint mode. And so God responds to him, and he tells him that if you can't, basically, if you can't handle the footmen, the soldiers, the countrymen that are giving you, a light affliction at this point. Then he goes on to say, he says, what are you going to do when the horses come, or when the horsemen, when they arrive? And it goes on to talk about the swelling of the Jordan. And so basically what God is saying is that twofold. One is the situation that you are in now, it's not going anywhere, but it's going to be compounded exponentially. And so you need to get a grip on where you are now, because if you can't stay in the fight as you are today, you automatically out, because the horses are coming. And so footmen, according to Jeremiah 12:5, is defined as men of infantry or soldiers. But the case of Jeremiah 12:5, and even for us today, they were couriers. They delivered bad news or unwanted news reports. Jeremiah was sick of it, and it was getting to him. It's kind of like CNN, Fox, MSNBC. That's what I consider the gossip mill. Some of the stuff is good information, but a lot of it now is just overkill, and it's overkill with an agenda that I don't believe that those media platforms, frankly, that they understand what they're saying every day and what it's promoting. But they are playing in the hand of the enemy. Okay, this is even in our churches. You've got the gossip mill in our churches and all that type of stuff as well. So from a news standpoint, or from a carrier standpoint, that's not the only place where you're going to get some bad news. You're also going to get news as it relates to, from a personal standpoint, when you're on your job, you get news, and there's the news of, possibly you're underperforming and you're doing the best that you can. But you're hearing rumors and reports that, they're going to can you and things like that. This stuff is getting to you. You're not going to get your promotion. Another footman issue is when the wife is asking the husband or the boyfriend, where were you last night? These are footman issues. I called you and you didn't answer the phone. This is a footman issue. It's just a little more personal. Or it could be a child going through an identity crisis. I don't know whether I'm a male or I'm a female, and the family is in an uproar, the husband and wife, or the couple that has the child. They have to work through this situation, and one person is for, the other person is against, and it's causing an issue. However, it's a footman issue. It's a crisis, and it's something that ultimately it's getting the best of that family. I'm just generalizing here, just giving you some food for thought, so you can kind of grasp and understand where we're going as it relates to the scripture. When God says to Jeremiah, you are contending with footmen, you are contending with countrymen, you are contending with things that are minor. They are very serious issues, but they were serious issues for a time. And if you didn't resolve that during that time, time will not stop. And since time is not stopping, there's something else that's coming that is going to supersede that, or it's going to make that look like it was nothing. Okay? Excuse me, my nose is running this morning. The horses or the horsemen are the same soldiers, okay, which are couriers. They carry bad news, etc. Except these men now are on, it's as if they're on steroids, because now instead of them being on ground and on their own foot, they are on horses. And we all know, we talk about horsepower and all this stuff. You get on a horse, it just makes you mighty and strong. Even when you look at the movies and stuff like that, when they came in with the horses, you know, it just that was a real scary thing. Especially if you got soldiers that's on the ground, you can't contend with the horses and the horsemen that are on it. Okay, so it's like them being on steroids, these same men. So God is saying to Jeremiah, if you're tired, you're weary, you're bitter, heavy, and fainting from your own countrymen or your own brothers, or these minor afflictions and situations, which are, you know, I'm exaggerating. They're really not minor. They are they're places of grave concern. However, grave concern turns into surface concern when you look at it up against the horsemen and what the horsemen are bringing. Okay, so he says, if you're weary, bitter, and heavy, and fainting from your own countrymen or brothers, he says, what's going to happen once you come before kings? Now, the kings are indicative, or they represent the horses. Kings, princes, or priests, prophets that are not for God. They are real prophets, but they bring a false prophecy or a false word that are not. In other words, God is saying that these horses and these people are not for me, but they are strong. They are mighty. When we look at kings and governments and presidents and rulers of nations and all that, when they speak, you know, you have to listen to that. So he's saying, what about that now? Because you're going to have to contend with that as if they're in your home. Before, the government wasn't in your home. The president wasn't in your home. Rulers of countries and worlds or systems and structures, they were not in your home per se. You were only dealing with, like I said, you know, family issues, and, you know, somebody cheated on me, or somebody didn't treat me right, and all that kind of stuff. That's what you're dealing with. He says, okay, and you couldn't handle that. So what are you going to do now when you have these other type of structures that come up in your life? In other words, if family, social, and church agreements get to you, such as racism, hatred, the election process, you know, the electoral college versus the popular vote, all that stuff, you know, the stuff that he's talking about on the news, all these things, if that's getting to you, he says, what will you do when the horses arrive with the vaccine? They're going to arrive with the vaccine, and they're going to have full DNA modification control. The vaccine and full DNA modification control. Think about that. Okay, that means that they're coming, these horses with the horsemen, or this agenda from Satan is coming with a chip. Not only will they have the control of DNA modification, full control of it with this chip, it's also going to affect your buying and selling ability. That's happening right now, men and women of God. I'm telling you right now, that is happening right now. If you listen to your news, listen to it more clear. Listen to it, be a little more attentive, because that is happening right now. So you got the buying and selling issues, and I'm going to unpack all this in my videos to come. You got the GMOs, which is genetically modified organisms, and we have seen that with our crops. We've seen that, and this is like, you know, it's all driven by money and demand, because, you know, the farmers say they can't keep up. So what they do, they put stuff in the soil that makes the crops grow quick. The folks that raise animals, cows, pigs, chickens, what do? They shoot them with steroids, and what does it do? It modifies them genetically, and with that, they grow like crazy. All right. I've never seen such big chickens and chicken breasts. You know, you go to Kentucky Fried Chicken or Popeyes and you get a breast. Man, the breast is humongous. And you're like, well, what? I mean, this breast is as big as a whole chicken. So you have to take all these things in consideration and see where we've been and where we're going, and just kind of connect the dots. So you have that GMO issue, and that GMO, if you look at it from a standpoint of the crops and chickens and the cows and all that, just think about if they can do it in that. Don't be fooled, and don't be fooled to the point to where you think that this can't happen to you. GMOs can happen to you as well. They can put something inside of you. At the end of that, my point is that it will make racism and hatred and those things that we are dealing with now that are at the top of the list, concerns, Black Lives Matter and all that, it's going to make that not so relevant. It's not. And that's because a lot of that will be second tier as a result of the DNA switch, GMO switch will control you. So therefore, in that control, the control can control how you see people. You may not look at black and white the same way. So if they're controlling the way that you look at black and white, and hatred, it'll be hatred what they want you to hate, not what you would just normally hate because of sin, and salvation saves you from that. And you look at how the blood of Jesus Christ transforms you and all that. Well, it won't be a transformation when they get this stuff in you, because now you are like a robot. And I got so much that I can say about that, because a lot of questions is, well, why would God allow this to happen, and can God do anything about it? The question is, there's several reasons why he's allowing this to happen. And the other answer is, can he do something about it? Yes, he can. And he's going to do something about it. And it is already attached and tied to his word. But this is going to be coming at us at such a quick clip that people are going to faint. They're going to forget about faith in God and God's word as the primary source of survival, because they're just going to forget about it. And it's not going to, you're going to feel as if the enemy has more power than God. It's going to give you that feeling, but that is not the case, but it will give you that feeling. So it's going to make racism and those things a thing of the past, because of the computer chip will control how you see people that don't look like you. And that's only as it relates to these horses that are coming. Now, does racism matter? And is it really at the top of the tier? Yes, it is. Hatred is at the top of the tier. Injustices are at the top of the tier. And let me say this, and I want to be real clear about this. I am very pro-black, so I am not denouncing and renouncing my position as it relates to being an African-American male or African-American issues, by no means. And if it wasn't the fact that we have to deal with this thing that is coming, that is going to be so much more powerful than these present concerns and issues that we have, I wouldn't be talking to you, because I am a Christian of culture. I'm with the Tillichans, or and I'll get to that. I'm with the folks to be a Christian. I'm Luke 4 and Matthew 25. I am a relevant preacher that I am concerned about these issues that affect us daily as it relates to our culture and things that are going on around us. I am an advocate of justice, but I'm also an advocate for justice for all. So it's not racist by any means, but I am going to fight for what's right. And at this particular juncture in time, black folks have gotten the short end of the stick for far too long. And now we got these horses that we got to contend with. So it's just a mess. The psychological framework of the mind now and in the future is that of panic and fainting. The pandemic has caused a panic, but what's to come is going to cause a fainting. You will reap if you don't faint, according to Galatians 6 and 9. The plan from Covid19, which is the crowning of the king. See, because they're making this process, this COVID, it's the king. If you look even at the cell, the organism, the virus when they put it up under a microscope, I can't remember what they call it now. When you look at it, it looks like a crown. So it's the crowning of the king, because they're saying this now is king. It takes precedence. And when you look at what's going on, what they're saying on the news and all that, it is taking precedence. They're telling you the King COVID is telling us what to do. It's got us going crazy. We are losing the social battle. I'm looking and I'm seeing babies now are growing up in an unsocialized environment. These kids that are basically now being raised at home by a computer. And look at it. It's a system. It's a plan, agenda that's devised from the enemy to desocialize you, to make you look at a certain thing, to get all your information and to control you. So you got to understand who's Google. The search engine is owned by who. You got to understand Twitter is owned by who. And we have to dig behind these things, or Facebook and all this. You have to dig behind these structures and see who's backing it. Who's the real person or force behind this? Because that is going to tell you a lot. What do they stand for? So in other words, like if you look at Wikipedia and you look up a definition, well, those definitions, trust and believe that if they don't want you to see something a certain way, they're going to put a Wikipedia definition in that is going to define it, that is going to fit their agenda. But what you're going to do, you're going to take that, embrace it, take it to heart, and you're going to walk with that. And you're going to say such and such and such and such. It means this. It is defined this way. And you become consumed by that, and you start to believe that. And it's a setup. Trust me, it's a setup. Okay, so this King COVID is nuts. But it's designed to get you to faint, surrender, pass out, quit, give in, succumb, and to concede. I'm looking at this from a top view, which is a God view, and that's God looking down at this, and he's talking to me as it relates to this. But I can also see it from a side view, which is what most people that they're going to look at. The folks at CNN, MSNBC, all that, Fox, they believe that they're right, but they're looking at it from a side view. And the side view does not have a future lens to it. And so if God has not given you insight into the future, then the only thing that you understand is what the numbers are saying. How many people are being hospitalized? How many people are dying from the King COVID? Okay? And you can't stop this. They won't allow you to stop. They're going to keep you promoting this because that's the only way that they can get the vaccine to everybody. You have to believe that you have to have this vaccine. Okay? Trust me. And this first batch of vaccines, which they lied about it, the approval of vaccines was in the beginning, 5-10 years before they could get something like that all the way, vetted. Now you can do it in less than a year. I mean, just think about all that stuff that's going on. It's just a bunch of lies, but they're doing that. They're rolling it out so we can get it. And I'm not saying in this first wave that you're going to be affected with the chip. But trust and believe that chip is coming, because they're going to find something else to say, well, everybody didn't get it, because a lot of folks ain't going to take this vaccine, and I'm one of them. But they're going to figure out a way to say you have to have this vaccine. And they just, it's a fast agenda, but it's a slow agenda. They said, okay, we won't get them. We won't pick them everybody up in the first wave, but we're going to create an atmosphere where we'll get them in the second wave. Okay. So that's kind of how that's going. So in these views, though, God has given me revelation to see it from a top view, but I'm explaining it to you from the top view, but I'm giving you understanding that I understand what you're seeing from the side view as well. But keep in mind, the side view is absent of God. I'm not a prophet in the traditional sense, but I know when I hear God speaking, and right now, as crazy as it seems, I am in the future talking to you, and I am going to further unpack that and tell you what I mean by it, because I know a lot of this stuff that I'm saying right now, y'all like, what's this guy? I don't know where he come from. The plan is to get everybody to bow when they hear the music of the King. I am going to stop it right there, and I'm going to come right back, and then we're going to do the second part of this.